What's going on, everyone? Thank you for coming to watch. So I've got an update for you guys on the tropics. So once again, we are talking about Tropical Storm Lee, which should be a hurricane pretty much at this point. It is still drifting over towards Lesser Antilles. Not expected to make any landfall there, but it will track generally west-northwestward at a pretty slow pace. But it's really just going to soak up all that moisture that's left out there in the Atlantic. There's very, very warm and above average sea surface temperatures, and then you have very limited wind shear. Behind it, we also have Invest 96L, which has a medium 60% chance of developing throughout the next 7 days. I personally expect this storm to become a hurricane. I really do think that it has enough moisture to deal with, also with the limited amount of wind shear out here in the Atlantic, that it will have at least a decent shot at becoming at least a tropical storm. But the GFS has also been agreeing with me about the system at least getting to a stronger point. Okay, believe it or not, we have the skeleton of Franklin that is trying to redevelop somewhere off the coast of. I guess this would be. This would be the Azores. I don't know how to pronounce that, but this will be moving closer to France and the western areas of Europe, if you want to put it that way. Okay, but I don't expect the system to redevelop. But it's definitely possible that it could acquire here some tropical or subtropical characteristics during the next day or so. But yeah, this is going to just move way up here in these really cold waters of the North Atlantic. So, again, looking at Lee right here, it is a 70-mile-an-hour high-end tropical storm, pretty much a hurricane at this point. 994 millibar central pressure here, moving west-northwest at around 14 miles an hour. So, just got to continue watching Lee. Really worried about what it's going to do as it gets into this point here. We're going to be talking about the details on this in the update coming up. So, we're going to be moving on here to our satellite loop, our current satellite loop for Lee. This is glitching a little bit, but if you can see pretty much what I'm seeing here, we have a lot of convection around that center of the storm, and you can see how we also have these. Well, number one, we have those outer bands, okay? Number two, we still have some more convection ongoing, but notice how this northern side of the storm is really trying very, very hard right now to wrap itself around the bottom side of the storm that's going to create that eye, okay? That's how we get that eye. We also do have a very strong anticyclonic flow around the system, which is really kind of just shielding it, and it's really helping the system. And then we also have obviously, our rotation within the system. This is our cyclonic rotation right here, and then anticyclonic rotation going around the system, which you see here. This is a little closer to our rain bands. Okay, that is moving in a clockwise direction rather than how the hurricane itself is moving. It's rotating in a counterclockwise direction. So I hope that all made sense to you guys. But even though just about that the storm is a hurricane doesn't mean that it's going to be affecting anybody anytime soon. So don't expect it to make landfall just because it's a hurricane. I know pretty much all of you wouldn't do that, but this will not impact the Caribbean. Okay, I want to put you guys on alert still because there could be a slight change in the forecast, putting some of those islands in the way of the system. But it's looking more likely that this is going to just avoid you guys, okay? Then we got to talk about the Bahamas and the eastern U.S. That is what's next. Also, Newfoundland and parts of southeastern Canada. Those are the two areas that we're also concerned about. As for just the rest of the system, as we continue watching its gradual development, okay? But for now, we'll just look at our current. This is our 5-day cone. This is our current outlook from the National Hurricane Center. As of 11 a.m. Wednesday, we had tropical storm force winds out here in this yellow shade. Okay, and at this point here, which is pretty much exactly where we are now. We have our first hurricane signature coming up here. The storm starts moving farther northwest. We're forecasting by 8 a.m. Friday to have this thing becoming a Category 3 major hurricane. So it's going to undergo some very, very rapid intensification. Let me tell you guys, we're going to see some very, very great satellite imagery once the system gets up to here, just because it's going to be very dynamic. The system is very organized. It's going to be very dynamic. This is a very healthy tropical system that's expected to become a Category 4 hurricane in less than a week. Okay. Um, but yeah, I mean, I would say we're probably gonna get up to Category 4 status anywhere between 8 a.m. to around 8 a.m. Saturday up to around 8 a.m. Sunday. I think that's when we're gonna see Category 4 status. It could even be as early as before 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. Okay, that's certainly possible, but we're definitely gonna have a dangerous major hurricane at 8 a.m. Monday that's going to be eyeing the Bahamas. I don't expect it to hit the Bahamas. You may be thinking, like, oh no, look at the end of this. It's a major hurricane, and then here's the East Coast, here's the Bahamas. You think you guys are going to get directly hit, but no. Okay, stronger hurricanes and tropical cyclones, they want to gain latitude, okay? And so we're going to see the storm start curving out, and then it's going to head north, okay? I think we're going to get at least some very big swells out here to Bermuda, but we still definitely have a potential for this thing to make a direct hit on Bermuda, okay? That would be good for us, just because the storm would most likely go out to see if it were this far out to impact Bermuda. It'd be bad for Bermuda, though, because obviously they would get hit by a full-on Category 4, Category 5 hurricane, okay? But that's going to be it for our current cone here. I also want you to notice, though, that there is the cone of uncertainty right here. It's in this dotted area here. This is just where we're not quite, exactly sure of where the exact location of the storm will be at this point, but that's our general idea of what, as of right now. But look at now our intensity guidance. This has been changing a lot frequently, so the models are still not done figuring out how strong the storm will get. But this has changed in a dramatic way. Really, we actually saw. This was last night when I did my update last night. We saw these most of these models taking it up to about Category 4 status midway, and then dropping slowly back down, kind of like that. Okay. But now we see them all over the place. So there's not really one side that's taking the majority of the votes here. We got several models going for Category 1 status, then going up to Category 2 status, okay? Most of them going up to Category 3 status, okay? And then Category 4 status up here in this pink, in this, I guess this would be darkish pinks, level here. This is Category 4 status, where most of the models kind of just settle here. This is where I would say the models are going to be most confident. Category 5, we get about 3 or 4 models that take it up to Category 5 status. There is an existing chance that we could see a Category 5 hurricane out of Hurricane Lane. That's certainly possible, but it's just really early to tell because once these models they spike Category 5 status, we're 108 120 hours out, so still fairly far out, but the near future is right in this area here, about up to around 60 to 72 hours out. Okay, that's where we get most of our Cat 1 up to Cat 4 stats. We do get a Category 5 point right here, but that is outside of the circle I've drawn here. So really, just to make sure that you guys know that the most reliable kind of just area to look at on this chart here for the models is going to be in this area here, anywhere from 0 up to about 65 hours out. That's where we can have that confidence for making a detailed and an accurate forecast, okay? But the next is just the far future, okay? So, again, we certainly will get a hurricane out of this. Pretty much is a hurricane. but there's still some deciding and negotiating between the models about how strong exactly the storm is going to be. Okay, we're now going to be looking at the GFS. We're going to be comparing the GFS and the European model. Let me actually, I don't think I actually haven't set up the European model, so I'll just look at that after we get through the GFS. Okay, but starting out, you can see this is our 12Z run that came out a few hours ago. And pretty much it hasn't changed for the beginning, but the second, the first half of the storm, but the second half of the storm is when we gotta pay attention to things. Okay, so we see the storm just chugging along out here. We take that big jump. Notice how we go all the way from about 964 millibars down to 958 millibars. Okay, that's a big jump here, going probably from a category 2 to a moderately strong category 3 major hurricane. Okay, and so we continue tracking it. Now it's a high end category 3. Okay, this is likely where it's going to be a category 4. Once you see around 940 millibars, that's a category 4 hurricane. I'm just remembering back to Franklin, how we saw Franklin as a category 4 hurricane. I just remember, looking at the stats of Franklin and reading that it was a 939 or it might have been a 941 millibar category 4 hurricane. We're likely going to get that out of Lee, okay? Then we see the storm continue to strengthen. If we were to get a category 5 hurricane, okay, I would say it would be probably in this area right here, okay, where you see 935 millibars. This would be around 2 a.m. Monday the 11th, okay? So, I mean, we're running out of time for sure. This is still a good amount of time away. This is 114 hours out. So yeah, I mean, I guess this is pretty much a week out. Okay, but we actually no, this would be less than a week out. But I mean, no matter how far out it is, we just gotta make sure we're watching every single change, even if the storm isn't going to hit land. Okay. And so, luckily, it's going to be out in some fairly open waters out here in the Southwest Atlantic. It's weakening a little bit, but it doesn't slow down that much, okay? It's still a 955 Category 3 hurricane, and it's starting to take that turn northward, moving up towards the northeast and also parts of southeastern Canada near, I think this is the Halifax area and also Newfoundland and, just areas near there, okay? And then we see some feature trying to pull this thing back in, okay? We have some strong ridging right here. Look at this very strong ridging with a 1,031 millibars of some very high pressure right here. Okay, that dome is going to be kind of like that. Okay, that's where it's going to be. That is going to certainly try and keep this system from going out to sea. Okay, but then behind it, this is probably what's going to keep this system from making landfall in the United States. We're going to have a trough. It's going to be pushing some colder air and severe weather off to the coastline out to sea. Okay, and behind that, we're going to get some high pressure. That signifies some more ridging. Okay, and so we're going to get some more ridging and just other ingredients that are going to help push the storm out to sea. Okay, if it curves out earlier, it's going to have more space to go out to sea. Okay, we're likely not going to see that. Okay, I think that this is not going to happen. This is not true. Okay, so that's one scenario we are done with. We're pretty much at the point where we can decide, we can start deciding on what our two main scenarios are, which most likely would be that the storm. Let me read. Actually, I can leave it at that. First scenario is that the storm makes landfall on the northeastern coastline. Okay, as probably a Category 2 hurricane. I don't know. It's too early to tell. And that's that. Okay, or we could get the storm curving out to sea a little bit sooner, and it misses the United States coastline, but impacts Newfoundland. Okay, that could be a scenario, or it could just go away. It could just turn out to sea. But I think our main two scenarios, we figured out at this point that they would pretty much be between these two arrows I've drawn here. Those are the two paths that I think the storm could potentially take. Okay. Also, look at this. Maybe potential future tropical storm, future hurricane Margot, right here cruising along in the central Atlantic. Okay, it's not going to be a harm to anybody. It's looking like, but the GFS has been continuously saying that this will be most likely a Category 2 hurricane. So we could have dual 965 somewhere around there millibar hurricanes sometime next week. Okay, that's certainly possible, but the latest GFS run, the 12Z, it doesn't get the system pulled in just enough to make a landfall, okay? The outer bands would likely scrape across the edge, the east coast of the United States. When you see something this close, this far out, this is not going to happen, okay? This is not going to happen. This is going to change. We are 240 hours out, okay? That's way too far out. But we've been continuously getting a signal that the storm could make landfall on the northeastern coastline or make it very, very close. Okay, I think personally, whatever we get, it's going to be very, very close. I think that's what is going to happen. But the latest 12Z run does have the storm making landfall somewhere out here in Newfoundland. I don't know what cities would be out here. St. John, St. John's. I'm not familiar with any cities out here, but that's just one of the many scenarios that we could get when the system goes out to sea. But the two kind of the high tier scenarios, which would be the two main questions, is if it's gonna kind of scrape the coastline, but make landfall at the same time in the northeast, or curve out to sea and potentially hit Newfoundland on the way out. Okay, so that's going to be pretty much it for the GFS. We're going to be moving on now to the European model. Okay, we're up to the 12Z here. We don't get enough model run time for the entire trackless storm, but we will just go out as far as we can. Okay, so here we go. We get the system. Notice how I think the European model is under developing the system here. Okay, so today's already the 6th, so we go back to where we are now. It wants a 999 millibar weak tropical storm. Actually, I guess just a moderately strong tropical storm as of 2 p.m. today. Okay, that was certainly wrong. Okay, now we go to 5 p.m. today. This is where we are right now. The European model says that we're getting a 999 millibar tropical storm right now. We probably have a Category 1 hurricane right now. Okay, so notice how there's a big difference in the GFS and the European model on the initial developing of the system. Okay, and then it wants even weakening after this. We get to 8 p.m. The storm weakens back to a low end tropical storm, almost back down to a depression. Okay, so clearly this is not going to be correct. We're definitely going to have a hurricane at this point. But then it finally gets its act together. It develops it slow, but we still get a hurricane out of this, and then we get to this is about the 8th, Saturday the 8th. And the Euro wants a Category 1 hurricane at this point, okay? The GFS at this point wants a Category 2, Category 3 hurricane. I would definitely rely on the GFS for this, okay? But, at the point where we would be expecting a Category 4 hurricane, this is most likely still a Category 2, Category 3 hurricane, okay? So, there's a pretty big difference, but I think after this point, the models kind of line up pretty good, okay? So at this point, we're finally getting our strengthening in that we're expecting. We'll see if we can get down. We do get down below 940 millibars. So this is probably a high-end Category 4 hurricane at this point. It's going pretty back and forth. But notice here how we get very strong. This is our high point here. Would be the same exact area as the GFS. So for the Euro, once a 927, likely Category 5, full-on dangerous hurricane, getting very close to those southern Bahamas islands out here. It's not going to make landfall there. Don't worry. But, this is 144 hours out. But that is another signal, another scenario that's showing a Category 5 hurricane. So the Euro has been going back and forth between Category 4, Category 5. We still gotta, just make sure that we are following every change until we get our answer. But we see the storm move on from there. Look, it gets down to 924 millibars, so it's an even stronger hurricane. 927 again. Now, as it curves northward, gets a little bit weaker, but it's probably still a Category 4 hurricane. All right, Category 3 hurricane at this point, and it's bearing down on the northeast. It's starting. I mean, it's moving. It's curving northward, and it's moving generally northwestward. Okay. Um, but it is moving in the general direction of the northeastern coastline. So if it kept moving north, it would probably scrape across the northeastern coastline. Okay. And we get to this point here where things change. Okay, the storm could go two ways. Could go this way, or actually three ways, I guess. Could go this way, or it could go that way. Okay, you're likely going to get something around the middle. I know these aren't very spaced out, but they're very different scenarios. I think we probably will see a scenario looking like somewhere localized somewhere around the middle arrow here. Okay, if you're in the Northeast, don't be freaking out right now. Okay, I mean you might not want to prepare right now. We still don't know if the storm's going to make landfall. It's very far out. But there is still an existing chance that the storm could make landfall in the Northeast. And if it does, you just want to stay tuned to every weather podcast or weather videos, updates that I'm doing here. Tune in to Mr. Storm Updates just to get the latest information on the storm to let you know if you should prepare or when you should prepare, and how strong the storm will be as it gets to your house. Okay. Um, but we are going to be now moving on to the just this is the GFS 500 millibar, just the map here showing us where our ridging is, our high pressure and our low pressure. Okay, very simple map. This is also going this is mainly going to be telling us why we're going to get, where the system's going to be going and why. Okay, so we'll start this out where we are now. Notice how there is some ridging, some very weak ridging on top of the system. Okay, that's somehow allowing this. That's somehow allowing the system to just, or it's making the system, I should say, stay farther south instead of going way up into the North Atlantic. Okay, if it weren't for the ridging, we would have the storm would be flying out in the open Atlantic, wouldn't be harming anybody. Okay. But the storm likes these favorable conditions out here. Still getting a sense, though, and a feel of the Atlantic, okay? And we've still got some ridging in front of the system. Notice over here, we still have some weak ridging in front of the system. This ridging keeps shifting along with the system, trying to keep it away from the United States, okay? And then it kind of lays off, and the gates are wide open for the storm to start curving northward, okay? And here comes our trough, starting to come down through into the northeast, and it takes a break right here. Notice how the ridging also starts back up again because it knows the storm. It sees that the storm is not going out to sea, and then also something that's going to help our future Hurricane Lee, is potentially future Hurricane Margot. Which could be keeping this ridging off to the north. Okay, it's separating. The ridging doesn't have enough space to separate these two systems, so it keeps this area in the Atlantic open. Okay, if we still see the ridging as the storm moves closer up to the United States, we could certainly get a landfall. You know why? Because this trough has slowed down to the point where there's still some open land out here for the storm to make landfall. This ridging is fairly strong, okay, and it's pretty much taking up that area for the storm to go out to sea. So if it would go out to sea, it would just get hit right. It would just smack right into that brick wall and be forced onto land. Okay, so that could be a scenario that could definitely line up to the point where we get a landfalling hurricane on the northeast. Okay, but this ridging starts to shift over here comes our trough, okay? And things are starting to show a little bit more like the storm could go out to sea, okay? And there still is a spot open for the storm to make landfall in the United States, very close to Long Island and southern New England. And this ridge is showing up as it could be extending farther south or going farther south, shifting over, which would be allowing the northeastern and just the northern U.S. in general wide open for the storm to move in. Okay, so it's back and forth still, but this is showing you how there are many scenarios, different scenarios of how the storm and ways of how the storm could move into the United States or go out to sea, okay? But it's really, I think, if we got this scenario here, it would be up to this ridging to stop the storm from going out to sea, okay? But the storm wants to curve out. Storms want to gain latitude, wants to go north, and it's going to curve out to sea, okay? And so it sees that the ridging is shifting away from it, and so it goes with that, okay? And then it tries to go out to sea, okay? That could certainly be a scenario, even if we saw the trough shift farther south. That trough is actually the matter of that trough is going down a little bit. Okay, now we're shifting our attention onto this ridge here. Okay, that's starting to grab our attention to how the storm could either make landfall or not. Because first of all, the trough shows up farther south. It's also a little weaker, so it's not grabbing onto the system that could potentially try and yank it on shore. But it leaves a lot of space open in the northeast, and it's not really affecting the system nearly as much as it could be according to previous model runs. Okay, and so the storm goes with that ridging, and then that's pretty much it for the most part. All right, so we're going to be moving on to our European ensembles, looking at our Spaghettio models out here. So these are the ensemble runs here. We have two major signals of at least hurricane development. We obviously know already that Lee is going to become a major hurricane, but we have a very substantial signal for development of future tropical storm Margot. I think certainly based off looking at this, we pretty much have around a 70% chance of seeing a tropical storm according to this. Okay, we're gonna see some changes with this, but it's not gonna hit any land as any kind of tropical cyclone, but a lot of these members do take this down to sub 1,000 millibars, potentially down to hurricane status. Okay, could have future Hurricane Margot, likely future tropical storm Margot. Focusing now back on Lee. Okay, so the latest European ensembles have liked the idea that the storm will now start curving northward a little bit earlier. Okay, that would favor the storm missing the United States and going out to sea. Okay, if we get the storm to curve later, if it starts curving at this point here, which some forecasters are thinking that this could be the case, the storm it'll try and run away from this trough that's pushing down through here. The trough would be located right here, according to what we just saw on the 12Z GFS, leaving a lot of space up here in the northeastern U.S. wide open for any tropical storm to move in. And the ridging would be pretty much right here, okay? And so it would pretty much just start from there, starting to curve northward, okay? So we see where it would go. And really, in logic right here, it would look like a fair thing to say would that if we started seeing the curving happening right before the Carolina coastline, we could have impacts all the way up from North Carolina up the coast towards Maine. Okay, so that could be one of the scenarios where we get a landfalling hurricane on the northeastern or just eastern U.S. or East Coast in general. Okay, and we get a few members that start curving a little bit later, they don't curve like out to sea, they just start going just due north. But a lot of these members, the majority of them, just take this going straight up, but curving out a little earlier. But notice how these members kind of hanging out over here by the western side are one of the strongest members here. You can see 947. I can't really understand these. I can't really see these numbers very well, but 948 millibars. Okay, so we still will have. I mean, according to these spaghetti members here, these ensemble members here, we could still have a Category 4 hurricane curving out a little bit later, posing a threat to the east coast of the United States. Okay, so that's gonna be pretty much it for our European ensembles here. So for the last part of the update, again, we're looking at our heat wave here. So we're gonna be taking a little break from the tropics just for this part of the update. Just want to get tuned back in for our second day of the heat wave. Okay, we're seeing our heat start round one of heat starting to shift over our first low pressure just area here with our thunderstorm band is pretty much localized right here, and you've got rotation. Just a bunch of rain bands rotating around the storm like that. Okay, our front right here is pushing across the Midwest and the Ohio Valley as we speak. Okay, that's going to deliver a severe weather threat, a multi-day severe weather threat to the eastern U.S. Right now, the coast is very, very hot at the moment. Where I am right now, it's about 94, 93 degrees. Okay, today's high was around 95, so very hot still. Okay, and so we'll get into tomorrow. Still very hot on the coastline. Probably going to be the same, pretty much the same exact feel tomorrow for you guys on the coast. Uh, like today. Okay. But if you're in the interior parts of the Tennessee Valley, the Northeast, and closer to the Ohio Valley, you will have a severe thunderstorm threat with temperatures really getting down. There's going to be some shots of cooler air moving in with this system, and boy, is it going to feel kind of tropical. There's going to be very, very moist air because you got that severe thunderstorm threat, but it's also going to be a lot cooler than it used to be. Okay, and then we see pretty much the front has almost made it all the way to the coastline. So if we were to shift this over, it'd look pretty much like right there. All right, and so now we're getting into this, taking us all the way to Saturday. Okay, it's taking a lot of time to get this first wave of this first heat wave out off the coast. Okay, and then we finally get that probably around Sunday. Okay, this is Sunday the 10th, and finally the majority of the eastern U.S. is cooling down. Okay. Second heat wave starts building right across the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. You see widespread 80s and 90s for most of the eastern U.S. The East Coast, specifically the Northeast, still a lot cooler than it used to be. But here we go. That pretty much a 3-day, 4-day heat wave starts up again, and then your second round of storms, which would be right here, moves in, and I mean it's pretty crazy. You're getting some pretty cool temperatures out, and then the pattern will just kind of it'll shift back into place again after we're done with those two heat waves. Okay, and we're gonna just briefly look at here the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook for. Let me get back to this. Sorry about that. For the uh, just for the United States in general. So let me get back to this. 1 second. 1 second, guys. So yeah, we're just gonna be looking at the Climate Prediction Center outlook just for the next, I believe 6 to 12 days. Just looking at just their temperature outlook. So I'm just gonna look at what could be coming in behind, right behind all of this, because this is going to be forecasted for pretty much mid September. Okay, so let me just try and pull this up here. All right. I apologize for the interruptions here. I don't know what happened there. I might have just deleted the tab accidentally. I think that's what happened. I think I misclicked right there. But I guess that's okay. But starting off here, you can see that the majority of the central and eastern U.S. is in a below average spot here. So our heat dome is really getting shoved down farther south, almost getting kind of packed in, like you kind of fold a piece of paper. Okay, so now we have a lot of room for below average temperatures and shots of cold air to move down from southern Canada into the northeast and the Midwest. Okay, you can see Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, down through the Ohio Valley, going all the way down to northeastern Oklahoma in that below average spot with about 50 to 60% chance of seeing below average temperatures. Western U.S., you're going to be in above average temperatures, especially for the northwestern U.S. Looks like another heat wave for you guys as well, coming up anywhere here around the 12th to the 16th, okay? And this was just issued today, okay? So this is brand new information we got. But you will see a cool down on the coast for you guys out here on the eastern seaboard, okay? So that's all I got for you guys. Thanks so much. So thank you so much for coming to watch. I apologize for the interruptions, but again, just making sure that we are going to continue tracking Lee as close as possible. We just got to look out for how strong it's going to be and obviously where it's going to go. We really don't want to see such a disaster as what happened out here in Florida. Okay, we want everyone to have a long time of notice for if the storm, if it does make landfall in the United States, that everyone can be prepared and notified as soon as possible. So we'll continue tracking Lee. We'll continue tracking the heat wave. We'll continue tracking the weather back home, and just keep all things weather. So thanks so much for coming to watch, and we'll see you guys in the next video.